But when you're going through, once you have some press, it's really easy to sort of leverage it. But what do you do if you don't have any at all? Well, one of the things that I've used often, and I've actually researched this to death, is a site called helpareporter.com, which is Help a
Ah,
Reporter Out. Have you ever heard of that?
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, right? A lot of people have. A lot of people don't necessarily use it to the way you can use it, right? Because you get a bazillion emails and you sometimes read them and you sometimes don't read them. For those that don't know, if you go to helpareporter.com, you can sign up to be a source. So there's journalists that are on there. They post what their articles that they might be writing about. They need experts and you become a source. And so a couple of tips on that, especially for the people that have already tried it um, are to when you get an email, right? You get, I think, three a day. It's kind of crazy. And they have all the listings of all the stuff. Well, if you're going to do it, actually read those emails, number one, right? Otherwise, unsubscribe because it's just a waste of your time. But if you're going to do it, read the emails, skim through, find the ones that are the best, and email within a 15-minute window. Okay, the people at Haro say a 15-minute window is sort of the golden opportunity to get in. There's a couple reasons. One is because you get a ton. Like, I don't know if you've ever been a journal on the journalist side of Haro. I have. You just get inundated with emails from tons of people. And I like read the first few and then I don't read the rest because it's just ridiculous. I just throw them in a folder. So, and I'll go through them later, but one of those things are we'll look at the first few and that'll stick in our mind. So that's one. Number two, though, is a lot of times, especially if it's bigger media, they're on a deadline. And so if you can give them a really quick response and a phone number to contact you, that's really important too. You also need a really good story because the people want to make sure that you are the perfect expert for them. Right. So like they want to know that you're the guy that does the, yoga for over 50 men or something like that. You know what I mean? You really want to make sure that this is the right person to talk to. So
So
make sure
so
those are sort of the tips.
so what are the components of a great story? A compelling story?
Mm. So there's a couple of different things. And it's funny because I know you mentioned maybe posting that that whole speech because I mean it's an hour long with lots of tips and there's some really cool things in it like actual success. Like I got on Success Magazine, which was great. And I actually put in the pitch that I did, that I said. And so it was really interesting. So you can see what they asked for, you can see what I wrote back, and you can see that I got it. And so I actually went through and researched and talked to other people that used Haro and landed very successful things. And I got their specific emails. So you can actually look and see what successful pitches look like. So I think that's huge. There's a lot of different tips. One of the tips is to really make it relevant now, right? Because they're looking for an article right now. They want to know like what the most up-to-date and relevant information is. And if you can give data to back this stuff up, you're just doing their work for them and they will like you for that
Okay.
because they have to do that stuff anyway. So those are just a couple of the tips that you can do to sort of make sure that yours stands out over everybody else's.
What about tying it in with recent events?
That's huge. That's also key of making it relevant now. Now, a lot of the times you don't want to go off on a tangent, but you'll see crazy, crazy interviews like Carol Roth or something like that talks about random entertainment stuff, which she's the business girl. She doesn't really talk about entertainment stuff, but because that's hot, they give that information. So a lot of the times in Haro, they're not necessarily looking for that specific stuff. You want to give them what they're looking for, but if you can tie it in and make it really, really work for you, then definitely try it. You're just trying to stand out.
Okay, cool. So those are like the main tips. What would be your best, I guess, media story?
Ooh, media story. Excuse me. I have a cold too.
Yeah,
Um,
no, you mentioned you had a bit of a cold, so
yeah, I've been doing too many interviews. I've been talking too much, right? Let's see. So, I mean, if you go through any of those, they all have a story. You know what I mean? So, like Kiplinger's Personal Finance, I was actually on a cruise and I had the director from Kiplinger's Personal Finance or the writer call me up and go, "Oh, we want to do a story on you." And I'm like, "I'm in port on a cruise ship about to leave and I'm not going to have cell phone service, so tell me what I need to do right now and help you out." And so it's sort of amazing how that happens. And the funny thing is that that article actually ended up landing me on Yahoo's homepage a second time. So within I think, or 4 months, my face was on Yahoo's homepage twice. I never thought in a million years it would be on once, let alone twice. And so the second time I thought I was more prepared, which I wasn't. And my site went down again. Kind of funny. I ended up getting over 8,000 visitors in 2 hours right before my site crashed. And so I need to give this word of caution. I do this all the time because it sucks to say that my site was down. Do you still have me? Okay. My site was down
Yep.
for 40, good, or a little lag. My site was down for 46 hours, right? It was only up for two. And in those 2 hours, I got 8,000. So figure that out. I lost so much traffic. It's ridiculous. And the reason why is because my server wasn't a dedicated server. And so anyone that's working to try and get press, make sure you either have a VPN or, a dedicated server. So, or sorry, a VPS or a dedicated server. So that way you don't have to deal with this because with press, traffic spikes like crazy. And so your server usually doesn't like spikes because it makes everybody else go down. So that's just sort of one really important tip to me that I try and let everybody know about.
Good. All right. Can you refresh your video feed, and then I want to get into something else.
Sure.
Cool.
Better?
That's much better. All right. So one of your recent interviews was with Dave, the founder of Dave's Gourmet,
Yep.
and he had some really good press tips.
Yeah.
And it was all about you pull the media towards you instead of pushing your way into their door. And
Yeah.
I guess what were some of the strategies that you took away from him?
One of the really cool things that I thought was really interesting, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about is about sort of service or being an expert, like that sort of stuff, which is why I was really interested in him because he has a product. So how do you get the product in front of a bunch of people, right? Because he had ridiculous amounts of press, like huge, long, crazy press. And I think what's really important is to have something that's press worthy. And that's sort of what he was saying. So what he ended up doing is he made like presidential hot sauce. And he came up with these really creative ideas that would be really interesting to the press, which I thought was great. So that attracted them instead of him having to go out and knock on doors. Not only him though, I mean, I've talked to quite a few different people that have said very similar things. I interviewed a guy named Craig Wolf who owns a company called Celebridux. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
No.
rubber duckies. The press loves them. They make specific rubber duckies and then tell the press a little bit about it, and it goes crazy. Like they had David Letterman giving away rubber ducky celebrities to all of the people in the audience. Like they just have like a quirky story that worked out really well, which is pretty much what Dave did too. Found this sort of quirky thing that really caught on. Now you're never going to know if it's going to work or not. I think that's something that's really important too. My good friends had a viral video online and they've been everywhere. David Letterman, Oprah, Ellen, every show. I got to go on David Letterman with him. I thought that was really cool. But the video was Diet Coke and Mentos that looked like a fountain show, right? And they had 50 million views online. But because it was already sort of popular and cool and quirky, the media, of course, picked up on it. So when you're doing stuff that's already cool, the media can pick up on it too, which is exactly what happened to Dave. Like they just heard about him and thought it was a great idea. And so that sort of thing makes a big difference.